My friends, how are you? Welcome back to another episode of the Mental Corner podcast, the show where I bring on guests from all different backgrounds to talk all the things mental health. I am, of course, your host, Harry Potvin, and today I have the pleasure of being joined by Christina Flach. Christina is a celebrity makeup and hair artist and the CEO of Pretty Girl Makeup. She uses her company and her profession to always make her clients feel and look beautiful from the inside and out. She also uses her platform to raise awareness about the dangers of sepsis after her husband, professional tennis player Ken Flach, died from a brief bout of it in 2018. Christina was such a blast to have on the show, and I really want to thank her again for coming on and having this discussion with me. Now, if you are out there listening, you know the drill. Please like, comment, share, subscribe, give 5 stars if you're on that podcast platform. Share with someone who might want to hear this episode. It's a really great one, and I can't wait for you to listen. Also, if you're in Canada and you're listening on Sunday, January 16th, 2022, I am doing a giveaway on my Instagram for 2 of my crew necks that I released on episode 100 of my show. If you just go to my Instagram at The Mental Corner, I have a post about it, and in the caption of that post is what you have to do to enter the contest. You've got until next Friday, so be sure to enter that if you're Canadian. And to all my listeners overseas, we will do a giveaway soon, I promise you. That's enough from me today. Please enjoy the episode, and I'll talk to you all very soon. Peace. We are good to go. Christina, thank you so much for coming on to the show today.
Well, thank you so much for having me on this lovely Sunday morning.
Yes, exactly, on this lovely Sunday morning. So my first question for you, we're going to get into a whole bunch of stuff. I have so many questions for you, but basically my first question is, what kind of got you started in the makeup industry? Like what made you take that move?
Yes. So when I was a young girl, my mother was incredibly beautiful, but she was diagnosed with brain cancer. And she had a 1% chance to live 1 year. And thank goodness she lived 13. But the chemo and radiation, took away her hair, her skin was discolored. And so she was going on a date with my father. And I said, "Oh, Mom, let me just do your makeup." And I have no idea why I said that, but I just got whatever products she had. And there weren't many, but I miraculously made her look and feel so much better. And that made me feel so great to make someone else feel great and look, have this instant change with just a few beauty products. And I just had always kept doing that throughout my, teenage years. And as I got older, and I did weddings and, what else did I do? Anything that anyone needed a makeup artist, I would do. I met with some photographers, and then a couple of my projects had been published, and I got an agent, and it just kind of went from there.
Just kind of took off.
It kind of took off. Yes.
I love that. So you have like this, I was looking up stuff about you, and you have this huge list of clients that range from all these different backgrounds and so many different people. Now, does your process for making them feel beautiful inside and out, does that differ between person to person, or does it kind of relatively stay the same?
It's pretty much the same, even if it's a man or a woman, it doesn't really matter. I start with their skin. I normally will massage their hands with some hand cream and some aromatherapy oil to kind of get them in a nice place. Oftentimes, if I am dealing with men that are not comfortable in front of the camera or haven't had a makeup artist, they're a little uncomfortable / nervous. So I want to make them feel comfortable. Part of my job, besides making someone look good, is that they feel good before they get out on the camera, because the camera doesn't hide anything. It actually makes things look, if you're not in a good mood or you're angry or you're sad or whatever, it's going to show on the camera. So it's really important for me to know how to get my client in a good mental place, as much as I can. Obviously it's their journey and how they're going to do it, but I try to keep things calm and pleasant, and so they go out and they can do what they need to do.
No, I love that, because I think, well, this is something that I dealt with for so long, is that I always focused on how I looked outwardly as opposed to inwardly, and then that inward stuff kind of ended up showing up, so it was counterproductive. But I think we often, a lot of people I know anyway, neglect the whole inward process.
That's true. And it's so interesting. We don't even realize how much our moods show on our faces and in our eyes. And it is an interesting thing about our inner. We think we can bottle it up or shove it down and just, oh, I'll deal with it later. But unfortunately, these feelings and they're there and they're not going away until they are dealt with.
Yeah. Yeah. You can pull it off for like a day or two and then it just kind of explodes
Yeah,
out.
it just escalates and keeps growing and growing and growing. And it's one of those things where if you don't deal with it, it just keeps coming up again and again and getting bigger and bigger until you do deal with it.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So do you have a favorite client that you've had so far?
They're all my favorite.
Yeah, safe answer. Safe answer. I like that.
Whoever I'm working, you know what? They all are incredibly special to me. I get really, you spend time with, these people 12, 14 hours a day for, days on end or repeatedly, and you get very close to them. It's like being at camp. But a few that Isaiah Washington, Roger Lodge, Tyler Florence. I've been working with him for, my gosh, 15 years. They've all been special. And, they're so much fun to work with. It's like, I don't even know how to explain. Being on set with these people is always fun. You get one-on-one time with them and you get to chat with people that you wouldn't normally chat with in your everyday life. And it's fun. It really is fun. It's intense though. I mean, it's not all fun and games,
Right.
it's a job, and we have to hurry and get things ready, and the lighting has to be right. And, you have to work with the team and make sure everything is in sync. But I do enjoy it very much. I love not having a job where I am in the same spot every day when I'm being a makeup artist, right?
Right.
I enjoy going somewhere new, meeting new people. And then days that I'm not having a shoot, I'm, being a CEO and running my company.
Right. Yeah, no, it's nice to be on the go. Just not distracted, but like having so many things so that you're not just kind of stuck in one spot. I find when I'm stuck in one spot, I go crazy.
Yes, some people like it. Like my sister, for example, she is a big executive with a company and she loves going to I call it her shop every day. And she thinks it's great. She thinks she thinks I'm a gypsy, and she cannot understand how on earth I'm not having a heart attack all the time, that I'm not in the same spot and I have to go somewhere and we're just wired differently. But it works for me. And I think it's really important, if you're going to work, doing something you enjoy, because I can't even imagine going and doing a job every day of my life all day long and hating it. It makes no sense to me that anyone would do such a thing, and why they wouldn't make a change.
Right. Yeah, I completely agree. Now, through all of these clients and through all the experiences you've had, have there been any like life lessons that you've learned through this, like conversing with all these different people and like experiencing all these different kind of, you're going on set, you're going to these places, that places. Has there ever, like, what's the biggest kind of life lesson that you've learned through all of it?
That's a great question. I really enjoy, all the clients that I work with have an interesting job. So it's always fun to hear their perspective of what's going on in their work. And it actually helps me being a CEO. I've had, Tyler Florence, for example, we were chatting one day and he asked how my company was. And I said, oh my gosh, it's so much money, so much time, so much everything. And he said, you know what? People, if we knew how much time, effort, and money things were going to take, no one would do a damn thing.
Right.
And so it's probably a blessing that we don't know. But I've learned, it's funny, like I learned a good hair trick. I'm a makeup and hair stylist on photo shoots. The CFO of Google taught me a good trick about hair. Pull the hair tighter when you're blowing it out. I've had one client tell me to add more mascara to the corners of the eyes. It's very interesting. I learned something from every one of my clients, whether it be something to do with hair or makeup or life or nutrition or, relationships. I think everyone in the world has something interesting to teach us. So I do enjoy that as well.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. It's so true. Is like everyone has one little, even if it's just one little small thing. That's why, like, well, the show anyway. That's why I love talking to people, because everyone's got this one little thing that they say it, and my mind goes, "Whoa,
Yeah,
okay."
you never forget it.
Yeah,
right?
no, you're like, "Oh, add that to the library."
Yes, I was on a show one time, and we were discussing, post-traumatic shock from different life events. And then this one woman said, no, you know what? You've had post-traumatic growth. And I thought, wow, I like that. It's a much more positive connotation than a negative, like, something doom and gloom. And so I really like that. So I honestly, I learned something from every interview I do. I try to, anyway. I'm open to learning something from everyone.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Now, um, what for people listening who maybe like, because where am I gonna start with this question? Okay, hold on. I'm a
Just
professional.
okay. I know.
No, I'm
Yes, you
kidding.
are.
But
First step, first word.
yeah, exactly. No, but so in the world now, you have a lot of there's social media, there's comparing yourself to other people, there's a whole list of different factors that for people, younger people and people that I've talked to personally, like it's tough not to compare yourself, and it's tough not to look in the mirror and go like, why do I not look like the people that everyone is drooling over, gossiping over and blah blah blah. So for those people who are listening who may be dealing with thoughts like that, what kind of tips would you give them to kind of start that self-love process?
I would, all that stuff that you see on, social media, that is all what that person wants you to see. You're not seeing the reality of, their home life, their private life, their professional life. You're seeing, a snippet. And I think that, you know, and I even know it with myself, people think, oh, your life's so glamorous. It's so good. And I'm like, God, if you only knew that I was just scrubbing toilets and, picking up dog poop, it's
Yeah.
not always that fantastic. I have, things in my life that are not always pleasant, but I don't post that or, promote it. It just is. And I think if people would just realize that everyone that is on social media, they're all people, they all have their problems, they all have their ups and downs. And, you know, to just be happy with yourself and think that you're just as important just because they have, followers or, this career that they think people really need to learn to just accept themselves and love themselves because we're all different and we're all on this journey and trying our best. And it saddens me that people truly are looking at these things going, oh, I wish I was that person. Well, then aspire to be the best version of yourself
Mm-hmm.
so that people, if that's what you want. But try, those people work really hard. It's Sunday morning and I woke up and I'm, putting out a blog, finding a new interview, it's a lot of work to become successful. And it's not just, oh yeah, a post. It's a million different things.
Right.
It's so much. And it is working on Sunday and late at night. And that is why I say being happy doing what you're doing every day will make working 7 days a week much more pleasant.
Yeah, no,
I hope that
absolutely.
makes sense. I don't
No,
know.
yeah, no, it absolutely does because it's true. I mean, I've struggled with it. My friends have struggled with it, like looking at the highlight reel that is social media and the internet and going, why am I not doing what they're doing? And then you realize, like, I'm thinking about that while I'm out with my friends doing some fun stuff. It's like, stop worrying about the phone for a second. You're having fun.
Exactly.
It's like, yeah, but
Exactly.
I'm not on a jet. It's like, okay. You're,
It's okay.
it's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, it's an interesting world we're in right now. I don't know if it's better. Uh, it would be, I don't know. I think it would be a lot easier and simpler if things were a little more basic and not so all your personal life exposed to the world. I don't think all of it needs to be exposed or advertised, but that is why that's the one thing that I can control, my private life. I don't post things about my personal life. I will post, a little bit about my kids, but my my private life, I keep it kind of private.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't need to be exposed. And, people that you are in relationship with are not public. My life's public, but they perhaps don't want to be public. So I have to be respectful of, my person that I am in a relationship with, privacy.
Right. Yeah, of course. Now, how do you personally like how do you like maintain this feeling of both inside and outside beauty for yourself personally? Because it's one thing to help other people with it. It's another thing to kind of do it to yourself. So are there any tips and tricks that you use personally that kind of maintain that?
I think getting a lot of rest, exercise. I say a lot of affirmations every day. I eat very well. I wake up and have water with chloroxygen in it. I have a green juice. I eat really well. I'm very disciplined. I exercise every day. I try to be grateful for all the things that I have in my life. I just read this fantastic book by Mitch Albom, the guy that wrote Tuesdays with Morrie.
Mm-hmm.
It's called A Stranger in a Ship or on a raft or something. But it goes about that, how we think we just being grateful for the things that we have and not being sad about what we don't have. That's basically, it's a fantastic book. I recommend it highly. But I think it's very easy to get into this, oh, poor me, why is this happening to me? Instead of being grateful for, there was a line in the book that said, why did my wife die?
Mm.
And like God is speaking to her and says, why do you think that why don't you be grateful that you had her at all? And,
Ooh.
and if you look at it that way, and I try to do that with my husband that passed away almost 4 years ago. I wanted 800 years with him and I got 8. And so I really try to be grateful for those 8 years that I had with him. And I'm grateful. And even as a mother, I have 5 children and my children are getting older and they don't need me as much. And, it's so funny. My son, Nikolai, he's in college and I call him every day. I text him. He doesn't always respond. And I just said, Nikolai, you're killing me. And he's like, Mom, I'm in college. No one talks to their mom every day. I'm like, well, you do.
Yeah, you're different.
You're different. And he said, you know what? I'm raised. My other daughter told me that too. She's like, Mom, we're raised. You did your job. Go live your life. And it's hard, but I have to be grateful for how independent my children are and how happy they are and how well they're doing. So it gets a little lonely sometimes when I'm used to having all these kids around and now they're off with their lives, having a great time and, working hard as well. It's not like they're just off on a holiday, but it's different, different phases of your life. I guess what it is, you have to ride the wave of life and just, you go through a time where you have, children at home and then you're going, like right now I have a different phase of life. Like I'm alone a lot more than I normally am accustomed to. So I have to get used to that and appreciate that. It would really be horrible if my kids were home and they were not able to function on their own and they were so dependent on me. So again,
Right.
I guess gratitude is a very important part of life.
Yeah, no, it's better to just say I'm thankful for how it's going right now, as opposed to, oh, can we go back to that right now, please?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it won't be like that anymore.
No. Yeah.
And I think that is where growth comes in, that you have different experiences in life and you're open to different experiences in life and different relationships and people that come in and out of your life. And people come in and out of your life for a minute, a season, a few years or a lifetime. You just have to accept whatever it is and be happy with it. Yeah. Happiness is a choice. That is one thing I've learned. It is a choice. And believe me, I'm not always, I have my days where I'm like bummed out and depressed and like, oh, life sucks. And I just know, okay, it's a moment. Maybe I'm too tired. I'm hungry. I'm thirsty. I didn't work out. I know things that trigger me if I start feeling like, if I'm going down like a dark road. So I just know I need to take a minute, go for a walk outside, walk my dog, ride my horse, go do something. And then things are back on track again.
Right. Yeah. That happened to me. I think it was a couple days ago. I was going down that dark road again. And then I was like, oh, everything sucks. And then I was like, wait, what am I talking about? No, I'm good.
I'm good. Nothing sucks.
Hold on. Wait a minute. No.
Yeah.
No, we're not doing this again.
And I think it's okay to allow yourself a minute to just be like, no, this doesn't feel, it's okay. Everything isn't feeling perfect all the time.
Right.
But I think it's also a habit. And if you get into the habit of like, okay, 3 things that I'm grateful for, or, something that makes me happy. I love to read. I like to, yesterday I was decorating for the holidays. I buy myself flowers. I really try to do things that are going to bring me inner peace and joy, because that way I can spread I have an energy healer in Canada that I work with.
Oh yeah.
She's in Calgary, and her name's Diane. She's extraordinary, but she always tells me that you can't give an orange unless you have a basket of oranges to give.
Mm.
So I think it makes you a better. I think that we're meant to feel guilty, like, oh, I can't take an hour to go work out or, do something that I enjoy. We feel like we should always be being productive, but sometimes you just need a day or an hour or whatever to just be
Mm-hmm.
and do something that brings you happiness. And then you're able to, be a good mother, partner, wife, business person. I think it is important to be able to give, but if you're zapped of energy, it's very hard.
Right, and you're not really giving that much. You're not giving you're not giving the energy or the attention that you would want to give to that person or people.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And when you're very busy with your work and your podcast and everything else in your life, it's hard to give all the time.
Mm.
But I do find that making other people happy does bring me joy. Doing nice things for people, it makes me happy. I love buying little gifts or, spoiling people. I love that. That brings me a lot of joy.
Yeah,
What brings you joy?
I'm in the same boat. Honestly, when I was really at my lowest point, I really put all my energy towards friends and family, which was not healthy because I kind of ignored everything else. But now that I'm in a place where I take care of both, like the things that bring me joy really, like I think it was 2 weeks ago, my friend, he had he was directing a play at his university, and my other really good friend, he was the lead actor or one of the lead actors, but they were doing the play like 3 hours from where we all live, like our hometown. And I said, you know what, screw it. So after work, I drove down, I bought a ticket, and I watched it 3 hours away. And just seeing their face when they saw me pull up, they're like, you actually came? Stuff like that brings me joy. When I get to be there for my friends and see them like succeed in whatever kind of they're putting their energy into, that's one of my main joys for sure. It is.
That's great. Yeah. And I think, having balance is very important.
Yeah.
We all need to have balance, and sometimes it's hard. And sometimes if we're focusing too much on others, we need to reel it in and focus on ourselves a little bit. It's hard it's like that surfboard. You're trying to like ride that wave of family, friends, work, personal stuff, and to keep everything kind of even.
Right. Have you ever tried surfing?
No, I don't think actually, that's not true. I have tried it once or twice, but it's more like just hanging on I don't really want to fall off and I don't really want to drown. So I'll go on the board and kind of just float through and body surf on the waves. I like to do that.
That counts, I think.
Okay, then I do that often.
That should count. I don't know.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
You're on a board.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I the first time I did surfing, I was like, I thought it was going to be so easy, and it just is not.
It's kind of like golf. Oh, I used to play tennis when I was young. I played junior tennis. I turned pro for half a second, and I thought, oh, golf's going to be so easy. If I can run across court and smash a ball, that thing's sitting right there. And boy, was I mistaken. Oh my God. That is like the most frustrating game in the world.
Yeah, no, it's not even power. It's like technique or something stupid. I don't know.
Yeah. And not holding tight. I'm like, wait, I need to hold it tight and smash it.
Yeah.
No. Golf's the opposite. Like my kids are all golfers. Two of my sons are trying to turn pro, and my daughter played in college, and they're just so chill. I'm like, how did you come out of my body? You're so calm. I'm like, I'm constantly having a heart attack. Like,
That is so funny. Yeah. How are you me right now? That doesn't make any sense.
I'm like, I don't even understand this. How are you this calm?
Yeah. Oh, that is so funny. On the topic of balance, because the other kind of work that you do is advocacy work based on your husband and the loss that you experienced. Now, what was that like at the very beginning when you lost your husband? What was that balance? How hard was it to find that balance between work and keeping, energy for yourself?
Yeah, that was really a very hard, dark time. He died so quickly from sepsis, and it was having your best friend, husband, my everything, just poof gone it was like I didn't even know what to do.
Right.
I love to go to sleep early. I couldn't sleep. I'd stay up all night, like just exhausting myself to fall asleep. I was so used to smelling him next to me and I couldn't. So I would literally get one of his shirts and wrap it around my head and smell him so I could sleep. It was really horrible. Some friends took me to a grief camp at Canyon Ranch, and there was a woman named Rabbi Sherry Hirsch from Los Angeles there giving, this weekend of grief counseling. And she had written a book called We Plan and God Laughs. And that's kind of where I came from, the surf thing. She teaches you and it doesn't need to just be about someone passing away in your life. It could be about any loss in your life, a job, whatever. And change is always inevitable. It's always going to be changing. That you can just count on change in life and how you choose to deal with it. I had to pretty much rebuild my whole existence of how I was used to being married and having kids all around, and my kids were all off at college, and then my husband was gone, and it was so weird to just be alone. And I had really never been alone for long periods of time. And my son had passed away on Christmas. It'll be 15 years this Christmas. I knew that if I didn't stay super disciplined I started working out twice a day. They were like maybe an hour workout, maybe half hour, maybe it just depended. But I worked out twice a day just to keep my head on straight. I would really try and not get too hungry, not get too tired, not too thirsty, I had to really be nice to myself. And it's so interesting how harsh we are on ourselves, how we would never be that harsh on another human. You would never treat me the way you treat yourself, and I wouldn't treat you, right? And so I really had to tell myself it was going to be okay. And going through that process of grieving is just catastrophic. It's just so intense and big, and time helps. You don't get over losing someone. You learn to manage it. You learn to create a different life. And I won't lie, it was very hard and painful. And there's still days and times that, during Christmas, yesterday, I'm putting things out and I find his Christmas stocking, and that kind of made me sad, but I was like, no, be happy. That was his, you have to kind of brainwash yourself to go, nope, that's okay.
Yeah.
Because sometimes it's just too hard and painful. So it's a difficult, grieving. I don't think it's healthy to not grieve. I think we all need to deal with grief because it's always going to be there until you do. But I think it's important for me to try and grieve in a positive way. I started for my son, Bo, a garden at the Edna McGuire School in Mill Valley with my friend Lisa Zimmer, who was the principal at the time. And because education and nutrition are incredibly important to me, I wanted my son, Bo, remembered. I didn't want him forgotten. And because people don't want to talk about a baby that died. Right. And so this outdoor classroom is fantastic. That, kids from kindergarten to 5th grade plant seeds, grow vegetables, pick fruit, see chickens, and then they, cook with the food, and they do science projects in the outdoor classroom. So that makes me incredibly happy. There's a school called the Northern Lights School in Oakland, California, that I started a foundation for my son, Bo, and for Ken Flach Educational Fund and the Baby Bo Educational Fund. So I really want children to have great education. So if we can help honoring my husband and my son by raising money, and for children that are underprivileged going to private school, that makes me very, very happy. My son, Ben, who's Bo's twin, for the last 5 years has been playing in a celebrity golf tournament and raising money for his twin and his dad's foundations. And this past October, he raised $36,000.
Wow.
In one day playing golf, which is extraordinary. But the more extraordinary part is that 3 children will be able to go to private school for a year because of that, which changes lives, communities, and trickling down, hopefully changing the world a bit. So I feel that I don't want to be this grieving widow in a black lace shawl, miserable and making the world terrible. And, that reflects upon my children. If I'm a disaster and I'm miserable and not okay, they're going to feel it, and they're not, and I don't want that for them. I want them to be happy. So I feel that grieving in a positive way is, for me, a better way of dealing with it. But again, people can deal with it any way they choose or
Right.
not.
Right. Yeah. How old was your son, if you don't mind me asking?
He was 4.5 months old when he
Oh,
passed away.
wow.
Yeah, he was really little.
Yeah. When something like that happens, because you have 5 children, correct?
Mm-hmm.
How do you go about conversing situations like that when your kids are so young?
So my kids are a very, like, I think Melania was 13, Rose was 11, and Nikolai was like 5,
Mm-hmm.
and then the twins. I am pretty open and honest. I don't hide things. It was a very difficult time. I started taking sleeping pills during the day just to like numb myself. My marriage to my kid's dad ended, which was very difficult, but we got through it, and we're still a family. We still co-parent, and he and Ken were really great friends, and the three of us were wonderful parents together. My kids were really blessed to have two dads that loved them and spent time together. I think just being honest with your kids. It's so funny because we give these lectures to our children. I don't know if you have any children yet,
I
but
don't. My mom is very
okay.
disappointed, but no, I don't have any yet.
Okay, well, one day.
One day.
I thought that giving lectures was, not lectures but talks on don't doing drugs, don't do alcohol, work hard, all that stuff. I thought that was kind of like what we're supposed to do as parents. But it was so interesting. My daughter Rose had said to me a few years ago that my lectures were quite useless, but my example of how my work ethic, how I treat people, how I deal with things, how I try to be positive was much more impactful to her. And so that was really interesting to hear, that I really did not know how much my actions, reflected upon myself and on my kids, that they really do look at every little thing you do. And that was, I've had kids forever, and that shocked me. I really was blown away by what she had said to me. So
Right.
thank goodness that, she said, we've never seen you drunk or high. I guess they missed that part when I was taking the sleeping pills when their brother died, but
Right. Yeah.
or I
They
hit it well.
Yeah.
Maybe I just was quiet and they liked it. They're like, oh, she's chilled out for a minute. It's being a parent is a great thing, but it's 24/7. It really is.
Yeah, right. And then as a kid, you're looking up to your parents and you're like, you guys, you could have done this better. You could have done that better. Then you get into that position. You're like, oh, oops.
Yeah. Ugh. I think once you start having kids and know that you really are trying your best. I've told my kids, look, I'm not perfect. I have really tried my best to be a good mom and teach and influence and be a good person. I think you start kind of being a little softer on your own parents once you have your own kids and realize how hard you're trying, knowing that they're sometimes from a different era and a different background on how they parent, being a little more forgiving. So
Right.
that's one thing I've known, like with my parents, I've definitely softened of like, God, they were so tough, and, but they did create me to be how I am. And my daughter Rose again had said to me, she thought I was incredibly strict when she was in high school and, so demanding. But then she said to me again a couple years ago that she was so happy that, because I would always say, I'm raising, proper people. And she said, thank God that that you raised me, right, properly, because I've got a roommate that's not been raised properly. She doesn't know how to clean up after herself. She has no boundaries. She's not respectful of any of the other roommates. And so that was great to hear that, after that, them telling you how awful you are, what an awful mother you are, and how horrible and what a bitch, that actually they appreciated it, and that they are properly raised. So that was nice to hear. But it took like 26 years.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's about time. I've been waiting for
I'm
this.
like, whoo, I didn't think it was ever going to come, but thank you.
Yeah. I did the same thing with my dad. When I was a kid, I would do summer jobs, and every time I'd get a paycheck, he's like, give me half. And I'm like, why would I give you half? He's like, because I'm the government. And I was like, come on. And so all through high school, I was like, I hate my dad. Why is he taking my money for no reason? And then when I turned 18, he had a savings fund for me with all that money. And he's like, you're welcome. I was like, damn.
You're welcome, you brat.
Yeah. I was like, oh shit, thanks.
Yeah, but I'm wondering, wouldn't it would have been better for you if you would have known that he was saving it for you? Because you thought he was just buying groceries.
No, I didn't even know what he was doing with it. He's just like, I'm the government, give it. And I was like, well, I guess this is the lesson, that I'm gonna have to pay taxes eventually.
Yeah, but I don't know. Or is it half in Canada? I don't know.
No,
If it's
it's
that
not.
much.
It's not. That's just my dad. I don't know why he did it.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
But how great.
I know. I mean, I was happy when I was 18.
Yeah, because you probably wouldn't have. Well, that was a really great lesson to know that. I don't know. I wonder if it would have been better if he would have told you, like, hey, I'm putting this into account and you're going to have money when you're 18 saved.
Probably.
It might have been a little easier. I don't know. But
Yeah, Dad, if you're listening.
Yeah,
you fucked up. Come on. Man. No, I'm kidding. No,
but it'll be interesting when you have a kid, like if you would do that, and how, I think it's an interesting thing, like how we're raised and how we tweak those raising things, lessons that our parents did. How would we do that to make it maybe a little bit better? And maybe you wouldn't have had such much resentment towards your father. I don't know if you did, but if you had,
right,
it might have been really great to know, like, wow, my dad set up this account for me to have, and that's great.
Right. Yeah. And then, I actually, what you just said, I love that. You get all the lessons in life and then you tweak them for the next generation.
Right.
Yeah. I like that. Nice.
Yeah, I do. Okay. There's my one thing.
There
I
it
gave
is. There's my little boop. Add it to the library.
You thought it was going to be a makeup tip.
No. Yeah. Well, I need a couple of those too. So back on the topic of grieving, the really fun topic, sorry, but
Much fun.
I had this lady come on this year who was talking about how her husband passed away from cancer, and she was talking about finally getting to a point where she could do self-care again, and she could kind of move on in terms of relationships and life in general. Like, she still thought of her husband and everything, but she got to a point where she could move on and not.
How long did that take her, if you don't mind me asking?
If I remember correctly, it took. I don't want to say it wrong, but it took a year or something. It took a while, a year or two or something like that, and then she was finally comfortable with, doing things. But she told me that in that experience, people were telling her, like, how could you move on? How could you do this? And then she started telling that to herself, and that guilt almost overcame and overpowered the grief. So did you ever experience like guilt in this whole process? And then how did you like deal with it?
I think it's really unfair for anyone to judge anyone that's grieving, because and why we have this certain people have a certain expectation of how we should be grieving. And if we're not, then we really aren't missing or loving that person. And that's why I think it's not right. I don't think I was on a hike with myself one day, and I heard my husband saying to me, because he would talk to me, how awful it is to watch, for him being up there and me here, how hard it is to watch me lying in bed at night crying, missing him, and he's not there to comfort me, with a hug or a kiss or something, right? And when I thought about it from that perspective, that's kind of when I made this definite change of trying to do positive things. If I had to look at my husband and my kids and my friends, and they were sad about me not being here anymore, it would make me so sad. It would be torturous to watch that.
Right.
And so I feel like it doesn't mean I don't miss my husband or my son or my mother or all my angels in heaven, but to just be constantly miserable is not honoring them at all. It's not making the world a better place. It's not making my family and friends, my business partner, anyone happy. It's just creating misery. And I don't think that's right either. So I I don't, I did a podcast the other day with this woman and she was widowed as well. And she was telling me that she had so much judgment. Like I went to work. I asked my agent called to check on me a couple days after my husband passed, and my happy place, I'm always happy and confident and feel good when I'm on a photo shoot. So I told her, find me a photo shoot. I don't care where, I don't care who, I don't even care if they pay me. I just need to be on set and do a shoot. So 7 days after he passed, I went and did a photo shoot for a lingerie brand, Third Love. And it was very hard. And I didn't realize how messed up I really was, but I got through it. I broke down crying. It was not good, but you don't know how you're going to react when someone dies. You just don't. And you can't be judging others. I don't judge I really try not to judge others, especially when they're grieving. Some people are going to be with the black, scarf on and be miserable. That's how they choose to do it. But I think it's really terrible to be feeling miserable and then also feel judgment from other people.
Yeah.
Because they don't know. And it's so interesting. If you're, married and your spouse dies, you're happy and you love being married. That's your normal place of feeling good. So I do understand why some people choose to remarry very quickly, because they want to get back to that place of normal, of feeling good again. And them being in a marriage or living with someone, that's how they are dealing with it. I don't judge it. My mom passed away and my dad got married a year later. And at the time I totally judged him. I thought it was much too soon.
Right.
But it wasn't for him. So it was, now that my husband has passed and I look back upon that and I just think that was really unfair. He was just trying to get back to his normal place. But it's just not fair for anyone to judge someone. They're going through enough dealing with the loss of their person. And then on top of that, having to be dealing with people judging them about what they're doing right or wrong or not doing enough of is just so unfair.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I feel like judgment's a weird thing because it's everywhere. And not even just on the topic that we're talking about, but even going back to like the whole makeup thing and the self-love thing, there's judgment everywhere about everything.
And there really is. And
it's
so
crazy.
strange.
Yeah.
Like all this judgment, like, even what we were discussing earlier about people like looking on Instagram and seeing all these famous, beautiful people, they're judging, even if it's a positive thing, they're judging it. But they shouldn't be judging anything. I mean, you can't tell people not to judge, because then that's judging them, judging others.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, there was this Instagram post that came out and it was talking about, so Toronto Raptors are obviously our favorite basketball team up here. And
Right.
One of the players, his name's Goran Dragic. He had to step away for personal reasons. They didn't disclose anything or whatever, but at the beginning of the season, he basically said he didn't want to play here, and then he apologized and moved on and played with us. And then so when he stepped away for personal reasons, all the comments were just flooded with like, "Oh, what a crybaby! Like, boo-hoo! Like you just don't want to play with us, blah blah blah," and just trashing him. And so I was like, "What are you?
How unfair!" I
What are
mean,
you doing?
again, we don't know what was going on in his life.
That was my
It could have been,
point. Yeah.
yeah, like, and why should he have to expose his private life to anyone saying anything other than, I just need a minute?
Yeah.
And he could have been having some, mental, depression, family member dying, who knows? But it's really not fair. He's going through the loss of not playing or wanting to play, on top of dealing with whatever it is, the problem that just he doesn't want to, that he can't be there. He's going through double the amount of anguish. It's totally unfair.
Yeah,
and then to do it, and then to add it on, having it in a public way.
Yes.
My husband was a public person, so I, have to deal with him being a public person regarding my life too. So my grief was public on top of dealing with my grief.
Right. Did that add a layer?
It totally adds a layer.
Yeah.
Him being a professional athlete really didn't affect our normal everyday life because he was retired. And, it did affect it when we would go to the US Open or Davis Cup or something where, everyone knew who he was. And I would be like, oh God, I forgot he's famous. Like, oh, I thought he was just my husband.
You're like, why are they waving at me? Or
yeah, I'm like, wait, I'm the one that's in a magazine every week, not you. But it was really, I remember the first year anniversary of him passing, there was the ATP Tennis Association put on a golf tournament at the Indian Wells tournament in Palm Desert. And they, on the year, had a memorial like video of him in front of 20,000 people. And I really didn't think much about it. I thought, oh, that's going to be nice. And I went down there and gave away the trophy to the winner of the golf tournament. And then I was in this stadium with 20,000 people and they're playing this video of my husband's career. And I'm like, whoa, that hit me like a Mack truck. That was really hard. And to see, I mean, I was so proud of him and missing him so much, but then also just like, wow, I have 20,000 people watching me was really intense. And I didn't even realize how intense until it happened.
Right. That's a lot of eyes.
A lot of eyes, a lot of judging.
Yeah, I was just going to say that's 20,000 judgments.
Totally. And God knows what they were. Oh, why is she in public? Why is she doing, and there, I have to say, I have been very, very lucky. I haven't gotten any negative emails or comments, at least none that I'm aware of, people saying anything about how I've chosen to grieve or not grieve or doing the things I've done. So I'm grateful for that. So thank you for not sending me hate mail, people.
Yes, and if you're listening, please don't start.
And please don't. And don't start. Let's not start.
Yeah, no.
But, it was so interesting. I my assistant Maya booked a podcast this week, and she didn't tell me what it was. She does that sometimes because it normally doesn't really matter. We always talk about the same stuff anyway.
Right.
Makeup, grief, all this other stuff. Well, this was a podcast on dating, relationships, and sex. I think it was like that kind of a podcast. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And I don't talk about, the person that I'm seeing. And I actually acknowledged it for the first time on this podcast. And she said, how long do you think someone should wait to be in a relationship after your mate dies? And I said, it's entirely up to the person. I don't know. There's not a thing like, 1 year and then you can go out. You might meet someone 2 months later, or who knows what. And then she asked me point blank, well, how long has it been? How long were you waiting till you started seeing someone? And I said, I went out with friends that I knew, nothing serious, but then I met this person and I've been in a relationship with him for over 2 years. And I've never, ever, ever said that because I've always been protective of him because he's super private and doesn't want this kind of stuff discussed about him. But I think I was a little cautious because of who my husband was, that I would get judgment of seeing someone. I met him, I think, so it'll be 4 years. So it was probably like a year and a half after my husband died. Yeah. It was almost 2 years when I met him.
Right.
And I've been with this. So yeah. So anyway, but I have to be kind of protective of him. I can't, I don't post pictures of he and I don't, because I am somewhat respectful of my husband's memory. And people are going to totally judge, even though it's been almost 4 years. I probably think I might get mail from people or notes, and maybe I do choose to avoid it. So that's probably why I don't do it.
Right. Yeah.
I had never really thought of that. I mean, I have thought of it, but I haven't really said it out loud until now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think the problem is like people, the reason there's so much judgment is that people just assume that everyone's going to fall into the same mindset and thought process that they're in. And they're like, so I would be grieving for this long. So why aren't you grieving for as long as I would?
Right. Or you really must not have loved him if, it's been 2 years and now you have you're in a relationship.
What a ridiculous thing to say.
It's so ridiculous. I'm sure. I remember some woman came up to me after my son, Bo, passed, and she said, 2 people. The first lady said to me, oh, I lost a child as well. And I said, oh my gosh, how old was your child? And she said, well, I actually didn't give birth. I just like miscarried after 2 months. And I said, I judged her. I just said, well, I don't really think it's the same.
Right. Yeah, of course.
But to her it was.
Right.
But then I had this other lady come up to me and say, oh, I'm so sorry about your son passing. But you do have the other twin. And I just said, I kind of like both my twins.
You're like, well, thank God.
Yeah, thanks. Thank God I have one left. And yeah, wow, gee, it feels so much better. And I just looked at her like, oh my gosh. So she judged me. I judged her right back.
Rightfully so. Well, at least
thank you. I think that judgment was fair.
Oh, oh man, I've heard, there was this
people don't know what to say. You know what?
No.
I have to say, people don't know what to say when someone passes. They just don't know. They mean well. Their intentions are good. I know that lady's saying like, oh, well, at least you have your other twin. You know what? In reality, like, yeah, it is. Thank God I do have the other twin. It would be awful if I had lost one and didn't have the other. But, in some ways that makes it hard too, when it's their birthday and there's only one twin there. Or, I put up the Christmas stockings for both twins. I still do. I don't know why. I just do.
Right.
So, there's just no right or wrong. I guess we're all just trying to do the best we can do.
Yeah. And if you think that way, then there's going to be less judgment.
Yeah.
If everyone just thought, hey, we're all doing the best we can, then it'd be like, okay.
Yeah. But I have to say, I have been protective of my personal life. That is probably why I've kept it so private.
Right.
Other than showing stuff of my kids. I would never show him. I wouldn't put him in that. I wouldn't want to put him in that position of him getting judged or people saying something about, I can deal with it, but it's not fair for him if he had to. So right. I just choose to protect him and keep him, out of this world of mine. This
wild, crazy world.
This wild, crazy world.
No, that's awesome. I love that. This wild, crazy world. That's an understatement.
Right. I mean, he's not choosing to go on podcasts and TV and radio. Right. I choose that. Right. I have like my job being a CEO, being a maker, it is public. And me being out in the public, the reality is it helps my career. Mm-hmm. I'm very grateful that I'm able to raise awareness for sepsis and help others. I mean, that's super important too, but that's part of being public and not everyone wants to be. Right. But I am choosing this.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, exactly. Now with the whole in the media thing and the makeup and the grieving and all this stuff that you've experienced, I guess my last question for you, Christina, is like, what would be one piece of advice, and it sounds pretty basic, but like, what would be one piece of advice that you've learned throughout the years that you would tell young Christina before any of this happened?
Okay, I would say everything's going to be okay. Don't worry. Worrying's a waste of time. Just focus on what you want to do and be gentler on yourself. You don't need to beat the crap out of yourself every minute of the day. Know you're trying your best.
I love that. Mic drop, Christina. Thank you so much for coming onto the show today. It's been such a blast.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I hope we can chat again soon.
Yeah, of course. And to all my listeners, I will see you guys next time.